The good.
Is it acceptable to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
The bad.
Scratching my head, the performances was just lacked that intensity.
And the amber.
Off the ball. Performance rankings.
Yeah, welcome to this week's episode of the Performance Rankings. And the reason there at the top of the show we were going through everything else that happened is that, I hope you don't mind everyone, but we're going to dedicate this morning's Performance Rankings entirely to Gaelic football after those 4 quarter-finals. Fair to say, boys, that none of them were classics, but all of them had huge intrigue associated with them. A lot has happened since 3:55 p.m. on Saturday afternoon.
I think Galway Meath qualifies as a classic now.
Do you think so?
First half not great,
it ended as a classic.
Second half was unbelievable.
Every game had something to it, but I would say for maybe 2 or 3 at least of the 4 games, we might have been texting other people like, geez, there's not much happening here. Like, is Croke part of the kryptonite to the new rules? But all of them ended in excitement in some way. We lost a prominent manager. We have another manager with backs against the wall job. It happened and then some over the weekend. We'll start with Kerry. We're going to work backwards here.
Can I just
work away.
Startled Arwigs. It should be.
Don't force it.
Startled Yarrowigs.
Yeah.
Would have Yarrowigs.
The barcode is distracting as well.
It is. Maybe that's supposed to be earwigs. Startled earwigs.
That could be the garage thing I'm talking about.
So we are not a one-man team is the headline on the Mirror.
Well, it's true. That is true. Yesterday they weren't one man.
What do you think of that? It was essentially Jack O'Connor was essentially channeling his inner Kieran Donaghy. What do you think of that, Joe Bradley? What do you think of that? That was essentially Bradley's gonna claim credit for that performance. I'm sure he's claiming credit for this.
Oh, look, people were coming out of the woodwork left and right. Like, a lot of people were very happy at the end of that Armagh game, of course. But what a match, though. Like, Sean O'Shea with 12 points of his own. For a player who hasn't really been discussed that much this year. But Jesus, have we even talked about Kerry that much this year? For these reasons. So the Meath aberration.
Right, on the quiz last week.
Is on the radio only.
There's a bang of 2009 off this.
Did you claim that?
I did say.
And what made you feel that? Because there's been very little evidence.
They're coming in the longest of long grass, and yet they still have some incredible footballers. And this is the team who won the All-Ireland like 3 years ago.
3 years ago. They're the most recent winners of the 4 semi-finals.
You look to the age profile of the team. Like, Darragh O'Shea's criticism was that these players haven't changed that much. And you're like, well, they did win an All-Ireland against the greatest team of all time, right? They came through, they beat them in the semi-final, right?
Yeah.
In was that after extra time?
Missing Con. I think
but Con doesn't play for Dublin anymore that much.
Well, no, he came on, he did his part.
He came on.
I think he scored at least a point.
He won an All-Ireland the following year, didn't he?
Yeah, but, sorry, okay.
And look how Con was earlier this year.
Yeah, but his injury profile is now... The notion that somehow diminishes their All-Ireland.
I'm not saying it diminishes, I'm just saying that wasn't the greatest team of all time they were playing. That's what I'm saying. It was a great Dublin team, but it wasn't the Dublin team.
They won the All-Ireland the next year.
Exactly. And look, you could say Damien Comer never plays anymore, and he came on, he was very good.
Comer was excellent, but again, whatever fitness things that everybody is doing to try and get their best players fit for this weekend, which it turns out is the only weekend that you need to be good.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, and it's brutal, and that's kind of the beauty of it. Look, there's anywhere we can go here for the Kerry Armagh game, but I'll just pick out this stat. We were talking about this pre-show. In the 41st minute, Rian O'Neill puts Armagh 5 points ahead with less than half an hour to play in the All-Ireland quarter-final, the defending champions, against this much maligned Kerry side by many quarters. Kerry had 14 scores in a row. By the 56th minute, Kerry are 9 points ahead with a quarter of an hour left. They went from 5 points down to 9 points ahead. I thought the biggest turnaround of the weekend by far was going to be Donegal against Monaghan. But that in the second half alone. And it wasn't just Sean O'Shea and David Clifford in that quarter of an hour spell, but it was prominently them. But also nicely tagged on by like Joe O'Connor, who emerged in the second half, having had a very quiet first half. And then Micheál Burns, who was initially named in the starting 15, but left out. He came on with a big point to prove. He had 2 sub spells, and each time he came on, he was a live wire down the left flank. They were coming from everywhere, Kerry, and Armagh couldn't do anything about them. And Paddy Clifford when he came on at half time, yeah. And there was just a point where it was amazing to watch Armagh, and we only talked about them on Friday having this incredible mental strength, that for a quarter of an hour that I just mentioned there in that period, that they just disappeared is probably too soft a word. They capitulated in the kick out, not primarily down to Ethan Rafferty, but everything was coming from his boot and Kerry were intercepting it. And it got to the point where, because Kerry scored so often that kick out had to happen so regularly, that by the end of that spell, Armagh almost knew they were going to lose a kick-out. And if you watch their body language, they turned their shape is quite different for the last 2 or 3 Kerry scores in that time. Yeah. And you saw the shoulder slump from Monaghan on Saturday. It is fascinating that happens to even the best. And in this case, it was Armagh. But that was all Kerry, I think. And it totally overwhelmed them. So Rian O'Neill was the next guy to score again for Armagh. So for that 15 minutes, it was 2 Rian O'Neill's frees. And in the second free, he was trying to cajole his teammates. He was exasperated by the whole thing. Ian Farker came on, last year's All-Ireland winning captain, castigating his teammates, but it just wasn't working. There was no stopping this Kerry side for that period, for that third quarter. They were phenomenal. They're the greenest of all greens.
It was such a moment. It's like that in one of those Last Dance highlights packages, where it's the very literal thing of, and I took that personally, and it just reams off all these scores. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It was one of those things, it's such a new dynamic with the kickouts now. Where it's like, well, look, you've no option, but you're going to have to do this again and again and again and again until you get it right. And there's no cheat code to it, or just do a little short one here and get it and hold on to the ball. It's right back into the furnace every single time.
There are some short ones that you can do, and there are various teams who have managed to get short ones away. Like even in the very last second of the game, Meath managed to get one away against Galway. What are you Galway doing? You're not paying any attention. We'll come back to the end of that game a little bit later on. But generally the acceptance had been that Armagh had the best of the keepers and the kickouts heading into the weekend, and for it to have such a significant systems failure is...
I wouldn't be blaming the keeper though. It has to be whoever's at the end of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a partnership. Totally is a partnership.
It's a systems failure.
Yeah. So where were the Armagh players standing in that quarter of an hour when Rafferty was kicking it out?
I don't know.
So they were ahead of their Kerry counterparts every time, just before the ball was kicked. Just as the ball was kicked, they lost their marker. Every time. Kerry had a different momentum starting. It was remarkable to watch it. If you watch it back, they're actually in great position at the start of all the kickouts. They lose it in that split second. And the thing is, we're talking about the best of the best here. And they played like club players at that time because they were gone mentally, because Kerry knew they had the number. And it was actually Rafferty who was probably the loudest detractor from the kickouts at the start of the year. Do you remember that? He said it's total. He said I might as well close my eyes and kick it out because I have no control about where this is going. And that went a bit quieter as Armagh got to grips with things as the weeks went by. But this is right back to what he said initially. That happened yesterday. And look, bear in mind, Rafferty at times had a good game himself. He stopped a goal chance. He scored another, I think he got a 2-pointer, didn't he? Scored a long range free. I think the 17th point of the championship yesterday. So it wasn't like Rafferty was a complete liability. And also, as yourself, the two of you asked beforehand, name a keeper who was actually excelling with these kickouts. Kind of hard to nail one who's absolutely doing it. So this is a struggle for everyone, but it was particularly pronounced in this match.
I did see a good point raised, and it's funny, it brings up your thing. Remember your justification for not to step on it when Dublin played Armagh?
Yeah.
And that stat this morning, even that Armagh will give you an awful lot of chances, but that once a team comes along like Kerry that have a better shot conversion, all of a sudden you're goosed. And then it's a real big problem if you're giving up all these chances. That it's kind of...
Totally. I was positive about Dublin because they had 17 wides against Armagh. Yeah. But they weren't getting their chances from our kickouts. That was different. This was Dublin creating their own...
Yeah.
Look, it wasn't given to Kerry yesterday, but Jesus, they absolutely pounced on any weakness. I wonder, did the Rian O'Neill free annoy them into performing when they were 5 points down? I don't think it was that moment.
It came out of nowhere.
It was just... it was incredible to watch it because there's nothing that can be done about it. So when David Clifford follows the latest Shawnee O'Shea 2-pointer with a point of his own, and then he gets a 2-pointer, it's almost exact replica of O'Shea. You can see it in their faces, the Kerry lads, that we have him. We just have him. They're not going to come back from this. It's amazing.
It's rare to have had a game that 10, 12 minutes out here. There's no coming back here. I'm not sure we've seen too much of that at those high stakes games yet. It's you're dead. You're not coming back. There's not a hope. We'll just see this out.
There was undoubted anger, though, afterwards by the Kerry manager, Jack O'Connor. Have a listen.
I mean, what's to be gained by slating people? It's the easiest thing in the world. I'm in the business of building people up. I'm not in the business of knocking people. I spent all my life coaching underage school kids, minors, under-21s, seniors, at every level. I'm in the business of building people, not knocking people. And I'd ask people that are knocking that group and knocking people involved with the group, look in the mirror and say, what have you contributed? What have you contributed to Kerry football off the field? You know what I mean? It's very easy to knock people. Go away and coach a team. Go away and coach a development squad. Go away and coach a minor team. That's how you help Kerry football, not knocking people.
What have you contributed to Kerry football? I mean, off the field, obviously, because like Darragh O'Shea was one of our greatest ever footballers. You know, won multiple All Irelands, led the county, was like absolutely phenomenal Gaelic footballer. What have you contributed? I definitely would just want to clarify that.
What have you done
didn't-
for me lately?
Exactly.
Are you having this?
Eaten bread, soon forgotten. I know. I mean, Jack O'Connor wants it both ways. He's delighted that people are having a go at the team because they come in not favourites. Right, Armagh were
critics
favourites.
provided
They were
the
6
fuel.
to 4. Exactly. It was like
That's what you're saying.
You know, it's like, oh, we're a really dangerous team when we come to Croke Park. Written off the rest of the interview, like he was absolutely thrilled. Right, so Fitzmaurice during the week was like, there's a tier of one team, and that's Armagh, and everybody else are behind them. Darragh O'Shea exactly the same. Was like, this team, he hasn't freshened them up enough. There's no bench now. The bench was actually really strong because Paddy wasn't fit to play the full thing, but clearly looked absolutely astonishingly good when he came on. There was that's as good as you've ever seen Paddy Clifford play for Kerry, and his link up with the brother and with everybody else. So look, I think it suits Jack O'Connor. He gets to do his lap of honour now. They're not even fair. I can't understand Donegal are favourites with the bookies this morning. I'm not sure about that. So maybe the bookies aren't having Kerry's 32 points. You were saying Christy O'Connor has a great stat. First Gaelic football team in history in Croke
Well,
Park.
he said first team. I don't know if that's... It must be football. He didn't specify.
Yeah, because
without a goal.
Yeah,
Maybe they have. But
it was very hurling the scoring, wasn't it?
Without a goal.
32 points.
I think Jack O'Connor was absolutely thrilled to wake up and see what the headline of Brawley's piece was. Because to be honest, the vast majority of Brawley's piece, when you actually read it, is about Kerry people saying about the team that they're not a proper Kerry team.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what was going on. They rank outsiders, Kerry, by their own people's admission. That's what they were framing it as. Rank outsiders was the Kerry Mafia's leitmotif of the week.
So hold on now, right? If that was Kerry's motivation, the detractors, right, get them going, what are they going to do in the semi-final?
But sorry,
Because they're not going to be written off now.
sorry. You
What's
use
gonna get
these
them
things- Well, they're an amazing team.
They're an amazing team,
already
right?
won the All
But
Ireland.
they need this
Yeah.
feeling of retribution to overcome the All Ireland champions yesterday.
Potentially, who knows?
So what does that leave?
You do what it
what's
takes.
left in the bank for the
Something
semi-final?
Something different. That's what they've got 3 weeks to come up with
It's
something.
the opposite now, isn't it? Everyone's like, geez, I think Kerry are going to win it. And then how do they deal with that? That's the opposite motivation.
suppose he's
Sorry,
done
they're playing
that.
Tyrone. Sorry, they're playing Tyrone.
Yeah.
Like, so
That's why people... you're saying, why don't people think they're going to win it? Tyrone are a big answer for that.
no. Sorry, what is their motivation? They're playing Tyrone. Tyrone, the team of the naughties. They're still bitter about it. Couldn't beat them in the naughties. Beat the shell of the Husker team in 2012, and they celebrated absolutely. They were absolutely feverish with celebration. So they're going to go and they're going to raise Tyrone to the ground.
That's providing
and
that
then they have to play Donegal or Meath in the final, and they'll be praying for Meath.
That's providing that the current crop of Kerry players are very aware of history and felt that pain from the noughties watching on as kids. Obviously, it's going to be very easy for Jack O'Connor to wear that.
Oh, they have recent thing. I mean, Tyrone bet them in 21 as well in the semi-final.
21.
Like, there's no shortage of.
But then Kerry won one of the year after. So, like,
Sorry,
they're going to have to come from a different place, I think.
but do you think they can't? Do you think it's difficult to find motivation for a team in a semi-final?
the talent is there now, so there's nothing to hide behind. It's clear what they can do when they get going.
Yeah.
Like, are they the best team in the country when they get going?
Well, look, like, I mean, we'll see at the end.
I'm asking you now.
But they've only played. This is the first.
That's what I was saying last week. So they haven't been challenged, right? Even though they lost to Meath, but it was like we hadn't really seen them because no one saw that.
But and look, Meath are doing great, but they were still a Division 2 team.
Yeah.
And I understand the league doesn't really matter that much. The new rules would point out that at the start of the season we were asking questions about whether or not some team could come from nowhere. You know, if the new rules just suited them. Anyway.
All right, the greenest of green for Kerry, which brings us to Armagh. What does this mean for Armagh? Like, does this mean that they have to ask themselves the toughest questions, or is this just a bad second half of the office particularly? Because Shane Ryan still had to be in good form yesterday in the Kerry goal. He saved two brilliant efforts that were goal-bound. Armagh scored a goal, of course, which, funnily enough, was from a very poor Kerry kick-out, kicked by Shane Ryan, and wasn't anticipated. And Rory Grugan had all the time in the world to pick a spot. So Armagh were able to expose a flaw in Kerry there, and we're overwhelmed for that quarter of an hour that will go down in history. So is that it? Is it a bad day at the office for Armagh and we go again next year? Or are there deeper questions to be asked?
I think it'd be too revisionist to say that there's deeper questions. Everyone's been bigging them up because they've been class, but ultimately they've lost 2 games. I know 3 technically, but 2 of significance to Kerry and Donegal. And so it's kind of like, well, it's the nature of it. Like, it's not, not to detract from their thing yet last year, but like they got past Kerry in the semi-final after extra time. So it's not like there was a big gap between them and they've fallen back significantly. That'll hurt though. Yesterday they were embarrassed. Like, not maybe embarrassed is harsh, but like they were definitely. It was a humbling. Like, it was like, Jesus.
I'd pick embarrassed out.
Yeah,
put it in for them.
It'll be for them. I don't think it's embarrassing. I just think for them it'll be like, what has happened? I don't know where do you even start with that.
I think you just go again. Like, Geezer afterwards was asked, I don't know, are we going to play? Do we have some Geezer? We do. We've got some Geezer video. We'll play this.
Kieran, in the end, a very disappointing day for your side.
Yeah, it was probably disappointing 15 minutes. That's what turned the tide. Like, I think they had 13 points in the track, like, with maybe 15. So yeah, it was disappointing. Like, they played well. I think in the end, like, they kept on going. In fairness, like, Shane had to pull off 3 saves off the line, like, but they never stopped fighting. So you have to give them credit. Like, it was just a 15-minute period, like, where Kerry were devastating, and we just couldn't get our hands on the ball in the middle. So
they made life very difficult on your kickouts as well.
Yeah, we probably made life difficult for ourselves on top of that. So, but listen, that's sport, and you have to take your hat off. Like, when somebody's are scoring like that there, like, it's just one of those days. You make the mistakes and you get punished for them. Kerry
seemed to be very like the wounded animal from last year's battle between your sides. Do you see a lot of that in the impact on the pitch today?
Listen, everybody will make something. Like, for the first 45 minutes, we were very well on top. Like, but the only thing, the time to be on top really is at the end. So it's just one of those days, is it?
When you're in that pressure situation, it's almost like you're in quicksand. It's particularly the modern game. Is it so difficult to try and stem the tide?
That's what we want. Like, we just want to be able to kick the ball out and make it 50-50, where people find that more exciting, and that's the game. And you just have to, like, Kerry were better at it today than us.
He was asked afterwards about whether or not he's going to stay on, and he said, now's not the time to talk about that, but it's all about the players, and I don't see any reason for him to.
No, definitely not. Like, even Andrew Murnan, who was very quiet yesterday, he had. Do you remember that goal chance he had? The ball falls to him from Murnan, and he totally mishits it. It goes out for a 45. Yeah. Which they missed as well, the corresponding 45. If he scored that Murnan, I think that brought it back to 6 with a quarter of an hour left.
Oh, in the second half. Sorry,
yeah, but about quarter of an hour later. It was right after the dominant spell for Kerry. The problem was, as soon as the 45 was missed, Clifford scored again the other end.
I think it was a Clifford 2-pointer as well.
Possibly, yeah. Possibly at that stage, yeah. So, like, Clifford finished with 7, was it?
Like, what this means is that these two teams are close to each other over the last couple of years. There's like a seesaw between them, and hopefully this turns into a brilliant rivalry. You're making the point, they were getting beaten by Donegal and beaten by Kerry. There's a strong chance they're the 2 best teams in the country. We'll see if Donegal come back up to their second half performance against Meath. So they're right there with the 2 best teams in the country.
They definitely are. And for the other game that they lost, you didn't mention because there was nothing to play for, was Galway, and they were 8 points up at half time in that game against Galway, who needed to win the game. So for that reason, I'd ask, what colour are we giving them, Armagh? Like, is it red because of what happened?
I think you're defending All Ireland champions. The last team to go back to back are the great Dubs teams.
I'll give them red. What about you? We need a majority.
I think it's an amber.
I think red. I think ending the year with no trophy.
Armagh in the red?
If they'd won Ulster, I know that's not the be all and end all, but like, it's still something. By their own standards, by the way. I don't think it's incredulous that Armagh are getting to the quarterfinals and that's it. Like, it's not like you kind of take it for granted that they're overachieving, really, in terms of what they're doing.
We got going with Meath 2-16, Galway 2-15. Meath's first All-Ireland semi-final since 2009. In the 50th minute, it was 11 points to 9 to Meath. By the 65th minute, it was 2-14 to 2-12 to Meath. I thought they were gone when Galway had their own mini Kerry in the middle of the second half. I thought they're done here. There's no way they're coming back here. And finally, Galway have shown up in a game where Porritt Joyce afterwards, and if we've long enough video of Porritt Joyce, might play it, we'll see how we are for time. But Porritt Joyce was a bit more non-committal about his own future. He's going to think about it. But he did say they were poor in the first half. He admitted that. And it was a poor game in the first half, let's be honest. That second half got going and then some. And in midway through it, when Galway went on that scoring run to set up Kerry later on, I thought there's absolutely no way Meath are coming back from this. So fair play to them. Probably driven mostly by, well, there's a number of players really. There's Jordan Morris and Rory Kinsella were phenomenal.
Jordan Morris.
He finished at 1-6. But it's not just the scores, it's his overall play. He was destroying
He wins
Galway
the ball
lads.
back for the goal that he ends up scoring, and that was very, like, if we're going to talk about Monaghan, many goal chances, one more pass. There was an Armagh situation in the first half. The centre back, I think, wins the ball, doesn't pass, just pass. The Meath, it's one of the lads with 20 something on his back. Morris steals the ball in a very dangerous situation, and instead of panicking and trying to go himself, gets the ball, ends up getting the ball back, and it's a beautiful finish. Like, he's obviously very well recovered from that knee injury that we thought was going to take him out of the entire championship in the last round of league games. Sensational stuff. Like, football of the year, you know, obviously they need to go and win the All-Ireland, but like, is Johnny O'Shea now? Is he in the conversation ahead of Clifford? If they win?
It depends, I suppose. It depends what happens. It does depend.
A lot of football to be played.
A lot of
football to be
Was it
played.
Conor Gray you were talking about for Meath?
It could have been.
He scores the goal, a soccer goal, really.
No. This is in this. This is the
No,
Morris
I know,
goal.
but I think he was
The
also
assist.
involved in that.
The assist for the Morris goal.
Tommy
will know.
It was amazing that they came back, because Shane Walsh gets a 2-pointer, and then right after that, Killian McDade scores a goal. So that's 5 points in 2 minutes for
Matt
Galway.
Costello played it tomorrow. Sorry.
Galway scored 2-3 in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
2-3 in 4 minutes, and Meath won the game.
It wasn't.
Honestly, it was probably. It's hard to pick the achievement of the weekend, right? Because there's an argument for them. The way that Donegal came back, the way that Tyrone beat Dublin handily in the end. What we just discussed with Kerry and Armagh. But the way that Meath responded to Galway was incredible. Like, all narrative was pointing towards Galway have finally got their act together, and a great effort by Meath, but eventually the better team won. And they just weren't having it. The self-belief that Meath have illustrated.
It's totally crazy. It is totally crazy.
Who's had the better year, Meath or Louth?
Well, Meath are in the last four of the competition, you know? You're going to say Louth because they won the Leinster, but like, ultimately, who feels better heading into next year? Meath have beaten Dublin and Kerry and Galway in the championship.
Yeah.
I'm saying the answer to that question is Meath.
It's quite often, not too often, that wouldn't win you in All Ireland. It is, because there was that sort of feeling when you're watching it that you're like, well, it's just that inevitability when you're watching these things that it's like, you know now how this goes and you'll trace this out, and it's kind of, that was nice for them. A little bit like Monaghan and Donegal, where it's like, no, that was okay, the real class is shining through. But good God, when they broke through again for that goal to just go back ahead, and it was just, oh, okay. Now, it's very dissatisfying, the end of it. Very, very dissatisfying.
So for people who missed it, right? So Meath have possession of the ball, and by my clock, it was about 69:53.
Yeah, there was time left,
and it kicked the ball deliberately out of play, and then the hooter went, and the game was over.
And actually,
I need to change that. I love the hooter, but I think they need to tweak that a bit. That should be one more play.
Well,
the ball was deliberately kicked out before it hit 70.
It was 69. It was 69:30 something when they got the free. Are you allowed to just take 30 seconds for a free?
Yeah, but in fairness, Joyce said they do the same thing. Like, so he actually wasn't that annoyed. Joyce annoyed about other decisions during the game.
I think you need to, like, whether or not it's the right thing for the game is what the losing manager has to come out and say, no, it's fine.
Oh, he could have thought. He could have gone the other way.
But then you don't look very good, do you?
Well, we have an example of that, don't we?
Complaining about you. Bad losers. But actually, we're not bad losers. We don't care one way or another. Like, it doesn't feel right. And I actually think that there was a case that the keeper was dribbling the ball out, which you're allowed to do, apparently. The keeper can kick the ball to himself, which I didn't know. Anyway,
but it's a good
those rules are all mad.
It's a good point. You're kind of the framing, because I didn't even think of that part. It's like, yeah, you are deliberately giving the ball back. It's not the equivalent of a foul, but it's the same thing to kill the play. It's kind of mad that you'd be just like that. It'd be Oh, well, sure, the clock keeps going. One thing, like, it just doesn't make any sense.
There was some Galway players protesting when the hula went and the whistle blew.
It was.
I think they need to tweak that for next year.
A weird end. There should be. Well, I think
it should have been one more play.
Well, if you kick the ball dead, if it's after 70, but if you kick the ball dead,
after 70 is fine.
Absolutely no issue. If it hit 70 and he kicked another play, brilliant, great play.
But also, it wasn't. You weren't quite sure. The clock stopped because there was an injury, and then
the ref did right by the rules, so it's not the ref's fault. I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind that being tweaked for next year.
Yeah,
that's one thing. But look, an undoubted green, the greenest of greens for Meath. As for Galway, now are they getting the Armagh treatment here? Are they getting red?
Oh yeah,
I think they are, aren't they? Because they had it. They had it in their grasp.
Point, they did win something, but it feels like they've kind of wasted the fact that they're kingpins of Connacht in a way. Like they have loads of Connacht medals to show, a bit like the Armagh team of the noughties, except they actually won All Ireland. Anyway, will we hear from Joyce? We should.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Pádraig, bitter disappointment for your side.
Yeah, look, obviously disappointed to lose the game. We just didn't get to the energy levels of the game. Didn't really perform the way we should be performing. You can have hard to put your finger on it. What's going on? A very poor first half, in general, in fairness, and probably Meath left us in the game as well. But then when we came back, we went 3 up. We probably thought that our experience might hold on to us and maybe get us over the line, but we failed. We gave away a short kick out, got dispossessed quite easily, and another goal. But look, I think we conceded 2-6, 2-7 in turnovers. Another score's come from somewhere, but again, I just thought it was a very harsh free again that wasn't given to Danny Flaherty going forward. That resulted in the Meath goal, but some days you get them, some days you don't. So today we didn't.
You hit that purple patch after, and you reacted well. I think it was 2, 3 and 4 minutes, and the crowd was up. There was a big crowd here. It looked like you're going to set another battle on the road, that you'd see this one out.
Yeah, it looked that way. Yeah, look, we made life very hard on ourselves. But again, look, you have to give great credit to Meath as well. Like, I mean, they were up for the game. They won the break ball battle all day out in the middle of the pitch. They were very sharp inside as well. And look, we didn't really get enough to put them away either. So they hung in the game very, very well. So look, congratulations to them. And we just didn't really finish the game out. Very disappointing from our side, no doubt about it. But the lads will regroup and go again. Yeah.
Frustration at the end as well with the free. The clock seemed to stop and then go again, and just needed another couple of seconds.
Look, if we were in the same situation, we do the same ourselves. Just a bit of experience there for the lads to slow down the game. Ref tried to get a goal, and although Conor had a ball thrown out to kick it in the last 2 seconds, and he blew it up. So I don't know. He kicked it short to himself. So
appreciate it's still very early. You're still only coming out of the dressing room. Have you given thoughts to potentially what's next with you for next year?
No, we haven't. Look, we just got knocked out of the championship, so we're not going to make any rash decisions. We'll sit and chat. There's a lot of lads in there have decisions to make about next year as well, and as we have as a management as well. So look, we'll do that in due course. County Board have always been very supportive of me, the players. So look, we'll sit down and chat to them, and we'll get things properly organised. So whatever will be. So there won't be no statements or no rushes coming out the next day or two. I'll tell you that.
What colour?
I suppose to Arthur's point,
I don't know. I like, and all due respect, and I'm not sure if a Connacht title is worth to Galway what an Ulster title is to Armagh.
No, it's not. It really isn't. Especially when they've won so many of them.
Red?
They have to.
By their own standards, yeah. 4 or 5 is not where they want.
It would be patronising if we didn't put them in red. Now, Dublin lose 23 points to 16 to Tyrone on Saturday evening. Already feels a lifetime ago. We have our own section for Desi Farrell in a second, but for Dublin, first of all, it's a remarkable match really in that there's 7 points between the sides by the full-time whistle, but that's not really a fair reflection, because with 6 minutes to go, Dublin were only a point behind. Luke Bragnick scored a point, and Cluxton actually had a free. And if he nails that, Dublin, I think, would have gone ahead with 6 minutes left. Yeah. So really, Tyrone run away with it at the end, and they have another chance as well. So just over 10 minutes left, they're a point down, Dublin. Bugler misses a sitter, like an absolute sitter of a point, to level it, and then Bragnick comes on, fists it across the goal, and Niall Morgan anticipates it to prevent the goal, and he could have actually easily fisted it over for a point. So on another day, Dublin at least bring this to extra time, or possibly even sneak it at the end. But it still kind of felt like a fair result. I think Tyrone shaded this game.
Yeah. I think Tyrone are very dangerous.
Lethal.
I think Kerry are definitely going to be favourites for that game, but Malky O'Rourke knows how to build a defence. And they've got these superstar kids coming through. Like, you kind of felt like it was going to be the Canavan show for the next few years. But one of them only comes on the last 5 minutes to go. They're starting to...
They had a long year as well with the club and everything.
Yeah, they're starting to season in the under-20s. Which of the under-20s, which of the 3 under-20 teams that have won All-Irelands? Like, they're in very good situation.
Yeah. They are. But what about Dublin first?
What about
Dublin, right? So they scored 16 points. They had 35 shots.
It just kind of seems that way. Some of their decision making is pretty poor.
What's that problem with 2 points? They have no interest.
It's hard to know, but the pitch was awful. It seemed it was so slippy. The ball handling thing was there was so many mistakes littered throughout. It was a very frustrating game to watch. Very frustrating game to watch, I thought. But it's just a similar sort of thing to the Armagh thing, where they get so far, and then it just seems like the mind goes blank. And it's like, well, what are we going to do now? And it's kind of either they're running into men and it's kind of getting blocked up, it's gone, turned over, and all the kind of enthusiasm that gives the team turning over. It's so many shots dropping short, just fading wide. Like it's not like they're not having enough of the ball or creating enough chances for themselves. And it's a similar thing to the Armagh game where we're talking about. If they were at all clinical, they'd be in an All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah.
No two ways about it. Like.
I think it's a big conundrum for Dublin. But by the 12th minute, they had 3 wides and 3 shots dropped short.
Yeah.
By the 12th minute.
It's incredible.
They're shooting us all over the shop.
Yeah, but is that not like...
That's their fault.
That's a skills thing, isn't it?
Their fault.
And I don't think it's just about being clinical. It's that they're not... The attacking identity and the coaching plan to get the right player in the right position, calmly doing things that they're able to do all the time, isn't there with this group the way we've come to associate with Dublin. Like, I saw a stat today, Donegal had 3 wides, and they're all Michael Murphy.
Yeah.
They can't have that level of efficiency again. You would have to say that there probably will be some regression to the mean. So, what's the truth about their first or second half? But with the Dubs, this has been the whole way through. Like, they would have purple patches where it turned out that was them being outrageously effective, but not actually having, like flukily, they would ream off 8-10 shots in a row and they would score them in the league. I'm talking about earlier in the championship where there was what turned out just to be a purple patch. But the actual regression to the mean for this team was this game, which was kind of exactly like the rest of their season.
Yeah. There's a point in the second half, Kilkenny, who didn't score, I think, till about 15 minutes left, had a perfect opportunity right outside the 40-metre arc to let rip, and he consciously turned it down and turned around to pass the ball. They have no interest in 2-pointers.
There must be something in their stats that is saying you have to find this shooter and that's our designated shooter.
They had the arm up in the first half. Brian Howard was a big sign for them. It was to slow play down. So they kept on slowing play down in the first half. And again, they changed a bit in the second half, which is a bit of a theme at the weekend of all the quarterfinals. The second half improved markedly. But it is interesting where it leaves them and what colour we're going to give them before we move on to Desi, because they are creating loads of opportunities. Their shooting is all over the place. So you would think if they get that sorted, they're going to be a contender again next year. Or are we in the downslope of a great Dublin era?
Oh, totally on the downslope, no matter what happens. I think we're going to talk about Desi now, are we?
Well, we do Dublin colour.
The red is to the Reds, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally red.
Yeah, okay, so Dublin red.
Are they the 3rd best team in Leinster? We can get to power rank Leinster.
Good question, yeah. So Dublin in the red. We'll do Desi Farrell on his own. Let's hear from Desi Farrell first. This is Desi Farrell talking in the aftermath of Dublin's defeat to Tyrone.
Make it about me, because it's not. It's always and always has been about the players, and ultimately they're the men who step into the arena. They're the men in the formative years of their lives, dedicate so much to playing for their county, and I have huge admiration and respect for them. And I think the overriding feeling for me now is just I will miss the people. It's not necessarily the position, because some of the relationships are really important to me, and some of those lads have been like kids to me. Watching them grow up, and they're a special group, and I'm very, very grateful for them and for all they've given, and they'll drive on, and Dublin will be a good place next season and the season after and all of that. Yeah.
2020 and 2023 All-Ireland winner. Got players back who look like they're going to go. What colour does Desi Farrell get?
I think when you start to read the people who know Dublin Gaelic football and talk about the 40 years he spent, a good piece by Conor McKeown today, Desi essentially has been involved with Dublin at one level or another, including the hurlers.
Yeah.
He was
captain of the minors in 1992.
I think Desi Farrell's legacy is also going to be totally entwined with the birth of the GPA, which I haven't really seen that many people mention this week because loads of people are suspicious of the GPA. But what he has ended up doing is injecting a whole level of finance for players and duty of care for players and education for players from all counties. So, like, from a Dublin perspective, I get that all sports careers, generally, with the exception of the very select few, Jim Gavin being one of them, ends in failure, and it's ended in what they would perceive as failure. But you have to look at these things when a manager steps away. Like, it's not just the body of work is being involved with all those great Dublin players as underage footballers all the way through. And then, were they good enough to win All Ireland the last couple of years? I'm actually not sure. So this is about their level. Could they have been better coached this season? Probably. Could they have embraced the 2-point and the new rules more efficiently? Could they have found shooters? Potentially. But I think, Desi Farrell is a Dublin legend and will always be considered one. And I'm sure lots of people disagree with that. Like, in the immediate aftermath, when you were on social media, there was vitriol, and then he announced he was retiring or resigning, finishing up.
Changed then.
Immediately. It was like, oh, okay.
It's the only way in Irish society that you'll be loved if you announce you're leaving or dead. It's one or the other. But his case is so interesting because I don't know if the word is brave, but was he brave to take it on after Jim Gavin? Because whoever was going to take that was going to have a very hard time of it. And he continued, he won the first one, so he gets 6 in a row. And then I suppose he's really tested in 21 and 22. And the fact that he came back and they won it in 23 is a fairly impressive achievement. But as for the colour to give him for his 6 years, it's very debatable. I think he did well by Desi. But did he do well by Dublin?
I think it's a locked-in green.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think you can measure it against... It's not like green is what came before. Like, that's literally off the charts. But, there'll be some lionisation for Jack O'Connor this morning. And, rightfully so. Great win. And I know he's won more All-Irelands, but it's spread over a far more... Like, he never went back-to-back. And I know Desi Farrell hasn't, but, like, you wouldn't be saying Jack O'Connor's not a green in terms of his managerial career. Like, the standard that was set before Desi Farrell was impossible. It's just ludicrous to kind of measure anyone against that.
Yeah.
It's like measuring Derek Ling against Cody.
Well, no, it's not so much Jim Gavin. It's more, did Desi Farrell fulfil the potential of the squad that he had at his disposal in his 6 years?
I think he won 2 All-Irelands at a squad that was constantly getting depleted and losing kind of its leaders and best players.
And he got some of them back.
Yeah, like I just think it's kind of 2 All-Irelands. It's not to be sniffed at in that time.
I go green. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To my point, I know obviously we're talking about his managerial career, but it's been a very long, to the point that Jack O'Connor was like, "Oh, what have you done for everybody off the pitch?" Well, Desi did it on the pitch, and then he did it off the pitch, and very much off Broadway for a long period of time. Like, started with the under 13 West development squad. It's like, that is not glamorous.
And I think it's probably just there's a slight knock-on of how he presents himself, because he's terribly authentic in how he presents himself. He's not really ever puts on any kind of show. Now, I don't know what he's like, but in terms of, like, he's clearly not out there trying to win friends and influence people. It's very much, this is who I am. I'm not going to kind of amp it up or do anything. I'm just going to present it. He's kind of the embodiment of the whole system. In a similar sense to, I suppose, the way Jim Gavin was, that it was just that kind of, you're not going to get me to be kind of
That's
showy.
What GPA thing is actually, I think, he stands for the players.
Yeah.
He stands for all the players, and that was true from the start, and that was true at the end.
By the same token, I still do think it was probably time for him to leave.
Yeah,
I'm not having said that.
Yeah.
Performance review. All right, so that's Desi Farrell and Green. That's fair enough. Let us know if you disagree with that. Actually, what colour would you give Desi Farrell for his time with Dublin in the comments on YouTube or on WhatsApp?
Darcy being linked in the papers, Ger Brennan, the other link in the papers. We've a long, I don't know, maybe that Maybe they'll act decisively and get somebody in quickly.
The only other two times that Tyrone have beaten Dublin in the championship, they went on to win the thing. 2005, 2008. Good omens there. First time they're in a semi-final since they won it, of course, 2021. And remarkably, like the job that Malik O'Rourke has done, and he himself should be in the green. Obviously, Tyrone are in the green. The first three scores of this game were 2-pointers by three different players. Kieran McGeary, Rory Brennan and Peter Hart. And Hart added another later in the half. And Malik O'Rourke was talking afterwards, said, we don't go out there to score 2-pointers, just we have the ability to do it. And they did it. Tyrone, the question we've been asking for a few weeks, are we sleeping on them? We asked Sean Cavan that. He's like, I don't know about sleeping, but there's the talent there. And it was abundantly clear on Saturday. I thought they were deserving of their victory, despite it being close to about 5 minutes to go. But they're dangerous, very, very dangerous for Kerry.
Yeah. Like, I think they're going to love the bullish Jack O'Connor yesterday coming out and saying everybody's writing us off, because nobody's writing Kerry off anymore. You know,
No.
You're not allowed to do it.
No.
It's like totally illegal. You're not allowed. You can't have any doubts about them, whatever. And you have to have, like, you have to coach the.
That's what I mean.
You have to coach the under 12, under 14, 16 minors.
Yeah, but you're being slightly facetious here. It's not like people were writing them off in bad faith. You have to, though, account for why was everyone so wrong about Kerry.
Well, again, I wasn't.
You only stop. You got the beauty of throwing out. No, the beauty of throwing out 2009 is that that's a run of narrow wins, right? So if they then don't win one of those games, it's like, well, I mean, look, it was close. It's a real thing.
I think that they have David Clifford.
Yeah, they do.
And they had been like
had him for a while.
They had gently been warming up for
Desi's
a big game.
All Ireland's and David Clifford.
They had gently been warming up for a big game, and here comes the big game. And they have a seasoned team of 27-year-olds who've won the All-Ireland.
Okay. Tyrone in the green, absolutely. Donegal, unbelievable comeback. Way down at half-time, they win it handsomely in the end. A lot of people are talking about Jim McGuinness. Once again, here's Jim talking the aftermath of Donegal's victory.
I just want to say one thing. There was a statement put out during the week. The management or the players had nothing to do with the statement. We didn't know the statement was going to be put out. So there was an awful lot of noise and an awful lot of articles and an awful lot of stories about that statement, and that we weren't happy and that we were, disappointed and annoyed. The management and the players knew once we got beat against Tyrone that we were going to be facing into 3 games in 3 weeks, and that was the way it is. The statement was released by the county board, and I think on the back of people in Donegal and clubs in Donegal not being happy, but as a management team, we were okay with the game, because from my own point of view and a personal point of view, you should never ever make an excuse for a game before the game is played. And I have never done that in my life, and so I want to make sure that distance is there, because it's disrespectful to Monaghan. If we got beat today, and if the first half followed through into the second half, and we got beat, people would be saying, well, sure, he was saying that during the week. We had nothing to do with it, nor did we know that it was going to be put out into the ether until I read it myself on the phone. So that's very important from a management point of view and from the players' point of view. We were happy to be here today because we got beat against Tyrone, and it was always going to be that way. It was always going to be 3 games and 3 weekends, and suck it up and let's get on with it. And now we'll look forward to a quarter final.
You had all week to say that, Jim?
Semi-final, yeah.
All week to say it?
County board.
Well, he doesn't do it. He didn't do press in between the statement. In between him getting the notification, push notification. Oh, what's this?
It's the great hypothetical.
Oh,
there's the great hypothetical. There's loads of those questions in sport. Would Jim McGuinness have said anything had Monaghan maintained their half-time lead?
So he is a psychological mastermind. Do we agree that?
We'll
see. Yeah, we'll see.
But up to this,
we've proven.
One All Ireland.
Well, it won All Ireland with a county that doesn't really win All Ireland.
You're overhearing Damien Duff
previously
there.
Ever.
You were talking about a mastermind. I mean, a mastermind has been undone by a lot of other teams along the way.
Well,
I'm not saying he's not class. He's clearly class. He's clearly doing great work at Donegal, but it's not. There's no proof yet that he's a way out on his own in terms of this regard.
Well, I mean,
like Kieran McGuinness did last year. Is Kieran McGuinness as much of a mastermind?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 of them now. Well, Jack O'Connor's clearly as much of a mastermind.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. We'll see.
Malik O'Rourke.
Malik O'Rourke hasn't reached Jim McGuinness's level yet.
No, but I'm saying a lot of managers have won All Ireland.
Well, Malik O'Rourke hasn't.
No, not yet. But I mean, his time will come as well.
Yeah, but look, okay.
Desi Farrell is 2.
Sorry, I do think that Jim McGuinness is very talented from a psychological perspective, understands the psychology of team sports, and it did seem weird that he would be out saying our team are going to be shattered this weekend in advance of the game. And then they played like a team who were slightly shattered in the first half. That was like nominative determinism. Oh, you're tired. Are you tired? Are you tired? Are you tired?
Yeah.
You're a bit tired, aren't you?
They were 7 down at half-time.
Yeah, I'm absolutely shit. Now you keep telling me I'm tired. I'm tired. Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Have you been nervous? Are you nervous? Well, I wasn't until you kept asking me. So,
what's the strategy here?
It didn't make sense.
What's the strategy for admitting that?
I don't know. I think that is there a possibility somebody went on a solo run?
Well, it's funny because
Have to open up the possibility that he's actually...
They won the game, right? They won the second half 115 to 5 points, Donegal, right? They flew it. So now is the time to say this, that the county board went against what he wanted to do.
We'll dwell on...
He's actually provided a rift here, but they've won, so no one cares.
We can dwell on this for a second. I don't... So when Jim McGuinness came back in, was not after that first year, the money they had coming in rose, I don't want to say a thing, but it rose in the hundreds of thousands. I'm pretty sure. It was an exponential growth. Yeah, there was an exponential growth with his coming back in. I'm not going... we don't know what happened. We don't know the nature of it. I would be very surprised if statements were getting released without him being at least made aware of it.
Yeah, that does seem odd.
That seems very odd to me. And especially like such one with a strong editorial line that it stopped everything. When that came out, they were like, whoa.
It didn't have any comment from him on it. It was
a very weird kind of...
It was a spokesman for Donegal says, even though this is a statement and there's no spokesperson for Donegal, there was no name, nothing appended to it. You know, it did seem... Anyway...
If they lose the semi-final, we'll go back to that. Because they won the game so impressively that no one's talking about the fact that Jim McGuinness has said the county board went against what he wanted to do.
Well, that's not what he said. He didn't say that.
They released a statement that he didn't stand over, right? So he was like, I don't know why they did that, basically, because I don't feel that at all.
He didn't. He said that the clubs were pissed off at the fact that Donegal, why always me, and the county board responded to their clubs separate.
Why has he publicly said that part of Donegal has done something that he didn't want to do or he didn't release himself? Why would you do that? Why would you bother saying that?
Because I don't think he's saying that at all. I think he's saying that you are all accusing me of poor mouthing this, not understanding that because everybody's like, well, it's your own fault, Jim. You lost the game.
With the statement.
It's your own fault, Jim. You didn't understand. If you'd made a bit more of an effort to win all the games, you'd have had the week off. And he's like, duh, I know the rules of the competition I'm entered in. That's what he was saying.
I don't know why he said it in the press conference. I had nothing to do with it. It's
a strange thing to address as well.
Yeah, we'll have to go back to it. He's left that open.
Was he asked though?
Well, because I'd say...
no. He said before we go, I want to say this.
Okay.
So he's pointed I didn't have anything to do with this. So Jim McGuinness is saying, I'm like the rest of the country. That was mad, wasn't it? He's separating himself from Donegal. Anyway, they're in the green. Monaghan are in the red for sure, right? So when Rory Bacon hits that 55-metre two-pointer, they go 7 points up at half-time. Do you know that when Michael Murphy got the point, right, at the 55th minute seems to be a team of the weekend, that was their first time leading since the 15th minute. So Monaghan, for the vast majority of this game, were in control. But Donegal ran away with it at the end. And Monaghan, there'd be no patronising here. This is the firmest red, isn't it? They battled it.
Yeah. No question about it.
They had a lot of goal opportunities that they took points for. That if they'd scored goals at those times, it would have been a big, big change. Anyway.
It must be incredibly frustrating.
Unbelievably.
Chen?
That is it. You guys your performance rankings.
Off the balls, performance rankings.